Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Tuesday, October 5th. So, theme of the day, turnaround Tuesday for the day. What are we going to get for tomorrow? Well, we'll examine that. I'll go over as much as possible information about that. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving out any recommendations or advice. This video is for education purposes only. And if the screen is a little bit blurry, just give it a little bit more time. YouTube takes a while to render these videos. I'll try to keep it a little bit shorter, and this way the video will hopefully render a little bit quicker for today. But let's go over the performance of the day. S&P was up over 1% for the day, finished up just a little bit over 1%. Qs outperformed for the day. You can see that they actually rallied a little bit more through the session. They were up 1% over the session to finish up 1.35%, according to my spreadsheet. The Dow also was in good shape. Small caps were kind of funky today. That's my word for the small caps today. They actually started and kind of were leading going into the open, but then they kind of got slammed down or just kind of fizzled, around like 10:30, 11 o'clock today. Bond yields were higher, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And the VIX was back down. Where did the VIX close for the day? 2130. All right, so before we get into sectors, and I've got about 5 or 6 single stocks to go over and talk about. Of course, we'll go over the bigger picture. There's some interesting things here, but yeah, we always start with what the overall index is doing, and that's a tough picture right now. I was, wondering how this was going to play out towards the end of the day, but notice that we close right at the bottom of value. So again, I'm not drawing that line or anything like that. If you're a new viewer to my videos, I use what's called the Market Webs indicator. This is a proprietary indicator that we use based on volume at price. So for example, when you look at the daily chart, you're going to see this volume profile. What we do is we draw this forward, right, based on statistical significance, right, and what we come up with is a lower value area of 4336. And notice where price stopped. So again, that's exactly why we use this. You could see it's significant. Price stopped right there. So I don't think that that's a coincidence. We really don't have much to kind of hang our hats on in terms of the overall S&P. We're just going to have to kind of play along here and just realize that we don't have a real pattern, or we're still kind of fighting with short-term downtrends. Where's the 5-period moving average? I put a trend line in here, so yeah, we basically closed right at that 5-period moving average. If you watched yesterday's video, I talked quite a bit about how I use the short-term moving averages. It helps me define the trend, and we were trying to kind of reverse that downtrend, but not yet. So we're close. It is close. The other level, so again, that's going to be an important level to watch for tomorrow, this 43.36 level. And then also on the 1 hour chart, right? I was complaining about this yesterday too, that we kind of closed right at that bottom of value. We did, so, first things first, we did get back inside value for the week. Right, so super short term. You can see that we are trying to turn the corner here. We still have a couple things, so it's not a perfect picture. I like to also, you can see I've got this 200-period moving average that's super bold here because it helps me also define the trend on the 1 hour time frame too. And you can see that price is below there. So again, it just kind of tells you we have not retaken that yet. And again, I think if you are purely a technical trader or a trend trader, this means if you're playing more things to the long side, to be a little bit more defensive. That's the conclusion of this when we go through this, and whether we see what kind of, just to establish where we are in the trend, there's not much to really get very bullish at, especially when you look at the S&P. I just wanted to look at one other chart here for a second, which is the Dow chart, which had a good day. This is in value and doing a little bit better. So the Dow stocks, which I don't particularly love this index because it's price weighted, it's not market cap weighted. It's only 30 names, and the highest price stock gets the biggest weight, which is not the best way, in my opinion, to weight an index. But you could see the Dow 30 stocks are showing a little bit more resilience. Even though they weren't up as much, you could see that they are inside value for the month. So kind of just, I mean, I think right now there's particular some things are holding up and are performing a little bit better. I'll get to that in just a second. Let me get to NASDAQ for a second. NASDAQ, while it outperformed for the day, one day is not a trend. And you could see that there's really nothing to get really super excited here about in the Qs. That's an inside day. I refer to it as an inside day when the body of the candle is in the body of the previous candle. So yeah, so there's nothing really majorly to get super excited here. I saw a lot of names like rally up into, right into like the bottom of value on a 1 hour chart. I saw, I'm trying to think if there's one particular name, but I do a lot of looking, after kind of the first couple of hours of the session, right? When you have that bounce, then it becomes how far is a name going to bounce to. So let's look at the 1 hour chart. This is in value too, so we did manage to close inside value. If you want a Qs level instead of, I know a lot of people look at the Qs. I would watch this 356.50 level, and again, same thing here, right? We're way below, and yeah. So even though a nice green candle for the day, an inside candle it does not change the direction of the prevailing trend, which is down right now, and the short-term trend is down right now in the Qs. Of course, we're still above the 200-day moving average, right? So that's a little bit longer-term trend, but short-term we've been moving to the downside. I mentioned IWM was a little bit of a wild card for the day. You got a doji on IWM, but you could see that this, basically was rallying really hard till 11 o'clock. And looked great, and then all of a sudden it just started to slide, and it just kind of has been doing what IWM likes to do. Nothing. Not move too much to the upside or move too much to the downside. So I know, I think everybody's kind of looking for this thing to break, and it's getting, it will eventually break, and it seems to be kind of coming to a point. So I think it's going to be very interesting which way when this does decide to move one way, we might get a clue for the overall market. For now, we are inside value. So even though we're a little bit more to the lower side of the value area, I don't think you can make any conclusions yet, other than it just wants to stay sideways for now. All right, so let's. I mentioned the bonds. Right, I didn't think this got much attention today, but it was a decent move for bond futures, or if you look at TLT, down 1% for the day. So they're a little bit different durations. You always have to remember when you're looking at this 30-year bond futures that TLT is not 30 years, right? The duration is much lower. What's the duration for TLT? Oh, this is the other thing I wanted to mention too with this price of SPY. Look at the back and forth price action since Thursday. Down 1.2%, up 1.2%, down 1.3%, up 1%. So it's been consistent in terms of overall percent, but not consistent in terms of direction. We've been going, the last 4 days have been within, if you take the absolute value to take, they've been within 20 basis points per day. So really kind of testing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right. So I was going to mention TLT. I think you could figure this. I think it's YAS. Yeah, the duration is only about 19 years. Okay, for TLT. So first of all, let's look at bonds, right? So why are bonds important, right? We talked about this a little bit in the midday session, in the midday market recap that I send to members. But bonds are important because they have so many implications, right? We know that right now tech growth has not been responding to when yields go higher. So keep in mind, this is the price action. So price goes down. It's an inverse relationship between yield or rates. So rates are going higher today. When you see a red candle, that means the opposite for rates. they're going higher. But there's implications in terms of the growth stocks don't particularly like higher yields, right? We obviously saw that earlier in the year. What does like it when rates go up on the long end of the curve? The banks do better. Also, if you want to take another step, some of the higher yielding areas in the equity market, things like REITs, things like utilities, don't like higher rates either, right? And we certainly have seen utilities come in pretty decently. I think we talked about utilities a little bit yesterday, but this underperformed, possibly because of that move in interest rates. So let me go back to ZB, and I'll bring up the chart of TLT too really quickly. Right, it's right at hanging at the bottom of value, so we have not broken that. There's this VPOC that did not get taken out last week, but you can see how exact these things are. All right, so this was from this volume profile in here. So that's where I think we are headed. If of course we've got to break the value area first on that 1 hour chart. TLT, again, we'll just look at this really quickly because it's a little bit different duration. But this has a VPOC that still has yet to be taken out in the daily chart. And then I just saw that there is one that has been taken out on the 1 hour. So kind of the opposite of the bond futures. Again, different duration, more volume trades TLT during market hours than the bond futures, which trade different times. Okay, so those are the major things going on. Macro-wise, of course, crude has been moving up. I think crude gets to again, I'm not making a prediction here, but just in terms of previous volume at price, this 81 level, 81.90, I think is where crude gets to, based on what our indicator says. If we continue to trend in that direction, wild move for nat gas again, up 9.4%. So continuing to trend. Now closing level took out this candle. All right. So, interesting. Energy was kind of quiet today in terms of stocks, right? When you look at the stocks for the day, right, they actually underperformed a little bit, right? They sold off from the open, right? And so if you took some profits in some of the energy stuff during the first hour of the day, it looks like you did the right thing. However, keep in mind, just because these things were down for the day, there's been these things have been on such a run over the last 3 weeks. They've been pausing, consolidating, and pushing higher every time the last 3 weeks. So, we'll see if it does that again. What did outperform quite nicely? Blockchain stocks. This SI that we've been talking about, I put this in the TTG trend portfolio last week. I'm glad I did. This thing was up another 12%. And we said, it's kind of funny sometimes the way that these stocks work, right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And sometimes they just need more time, kind of like the IWM right now. But once they go, they could really rip in the direction of, of the break of the trend, or the break of the range or the consolidation. So very big move here in Silvergate. Congrats if you're holding this one. This has done very well. A couple other names that I think are interesting. I think this HUT is interesting. All right, again, smaller cap name, but just a little bit better looking chart, more momentum than a Mara or an MSTR right now. So that's what I would be looking at. A couple names that we looked at yesterday. Net was a big name today. This name was up 8.5% today. I think that this was getting attention on these outages that have been going on, right? This is probably one of the better platforms for that. This did close inside value, so this would be the growth stock that I would be watching tomorrow. All right, very, very positive here. Another growth stock that did and you've got a level to trade against. By the way, look at the volume. Even yesterday, it gave a little bit of a hint yesterday that there was some interest there yesterday. So big move, full green bar for the day. And I would watch now. You could trade against 124.35, or if you want to trade against the 50-day moving average. But this is what we want to see. The price action regains the value area and regains all those short-term moving averages, the 5, the 20, the 50. Very strong. Let me talk about Netflix. Right, this was a trade that I put on yesterday in terms of a call spread. I just really like the pattern. Right, see the cup here. And again, something that went sideways for about a year, well, longer than a year. And if you look at the weekly chart, it doesn't get any prettier than this, in my opinion. Right, sideways for about a year or so, and tested that upper limit around 560, and then the market web's value areas gave you a perfect. Notice it wasn't ready here, not here, wasn't ready here. Wasn't ready here right before earnings, went down after earnings, and then finally once it broke, it really broke, right? So again, it's not a perfect cup and handle, but here you could say use your cup, and here's your handle, and that's a textbook technical pattern that you've got going on in Netflix. So very, very impressive. A few other names that I think are of interest: some of the regional banks, right? So SIVB. This is a name that is also in the TTG trend portfolio. It looks like it's trying to break this flag pattern. Again, another beautiful technical picture here. Sideways, 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 and then once you break, you go, and perfect little consolidation after the breakout. And I'm watching for this thing to resolve itself higher. Right, and then of course you could look at a couple other ones in this group. Zion Bancorp, not the same pattern. I haven't traded this one. I've been watching this one. OZK is another one I've been watching, consolidating. And then another one that I saw was posted on Twitter that I caught and retweeted is this Ally Financial. So again, you might need a little bit of patience with this one. But $53 stock, and it's been consolidating after this big trend last year. All right, consolidation, and I would watch. Keep an eye on that one. Maybe set an alert around 54, and see if this thing wants to push higher. But I think pretty positive looking. All right, and a couple other things. I've been trying to transition, and I'll show the trade blotter in just a second. But into some things like the agriculture names. We've seen a whole bunch of agriculture commodities. Right, we've got a major commodity cycle going on here now. So I've been trying to position a little bit more into things like today. I bought some Archer Daniels Midland. The other day I bought some Bungie. Right, this has been working. Right, since I bought this one, right, a couple of, the ones that were running really big, which are consolidating a little bit here, which I think is fine considering the candle that this name had. A little bit of consolidation here, right? Keep this one on your radar. Look at the 3 days of consolidation last time and a big rip higher, right? So I think that's quite normal after that type of candle. Same thing with Mosaic, right? What also interests me today is the move in the airlines today. Not the airlines, sorry. It's the rails. Big green candles out of the rails. CSX up 3%. UNP. I don't know if these had news today or if it's just infrastructure headlines. Who knows? But really a nice move. Now, this did not get out of value. And NSC was up, really big outperformance by this, right? And then if you want to take a look at the FedEx, also saw a lot of calls. I think there was a positive analyst or somebody's interested in taking a stake, something like that today. A lot of calls going up in FedEx today. This also outperformed, up 3% for the day. And finally, I actually bought a little bit of a call spread for November in the IYT, in the transportation ETF. It's sitting here. It's trying to there's no signal yet, but I'm kind of pre-positioning in some things, right? So here's the trade that I put on November call spread, just to get something established in this. A few other things that I did today, I was long some AMBA coming into today, but I didn't like how it closed, so I took it off. That's fine. I think in this market, if it's not there, right? It's funny because I tweeted this out at the actual high. Sometimes I guess I jinxed myself, but it is still holding the 20-day moving average, but it got rejected at the top of value. I was really interested to see what was going on with Nvidia too. This also could not close inside value. So again, this made up for a nice trade. Notice the downside VPOC being taken out. A nice reversal. But this isn't changing the trend. You got a beautiful bounce here, 196 to 204. I think take it and put it in your pocket. Right? I would not press here. Right? I would make sure that this trend changes. Right? So again, it could. All we need is like one more push in that direction, and that could change. But they didn't close strong, right, for the day. So I find that a little bit suspect. All right, and here I mentioned I would bring up the trade blotter. You could see, like, for example, like I even took off. I started MGM. Which is a name that's been seeing some call activity. Again, I'm just playing a little bit conservative. Normally I would maybe if the market was strong, I would keep this name on. Listen, I can go right back into this tomorrow. It's a nice pattern. I just wanted to see it close a little bit stronger than this, and I'm being picky right now with this market. RTX, I've talked a little bit about. I think I talked about this in the weekend member video. This is RSX, which is strong. Russia. Wow, look at Russia. Nice move. But what I wanted to talk about was RTX and the aerospace and defense ETF, which also looks pretty interesting. Not a breakout yet. Kind of hesitated there. So again, didn't close on the highs, but I went long this name pretty early in the day. Here's ITA, which also I find interesting. This consolidation here. You could trade this versus 105.65, looking for it to break out of this range. All right, Datadog, and I cleared out of some growth stuff. I didn't have a lot of things on, but Netflix, of course, was a winner. AMBA out of that name today. Took off the last piece. I think the highest I hit was 155.50. I also took TMO off. That's kind of, I would say, in the growth area. Love was a nice little day trade. All right, and a couple other things. ET got lucky to get out of this before that, as that news story turned out about they're getting sued or something. I was establishing a swing trade, and I saw a news story about this, so I got out of it, and I got lucky with that one. All right, and that's it. So you could see I took off Datadog right in the beginning of the day. This was a trade I put on I think on Friday. Took one target in it for profits, and then the bottom dropped out in this thing yesterday. Let's see, where did Datadog close? Wait for Thinkorswim here. Maybe this will be the last chart we do. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't convincing enough for me. I want to see this thing get back above 143. So I'll be watching it tomorrow. Asan is another one I'm still watching. It is holding the bottom of value, but needs to push a little bit further to get above those short-term moving averages. We'll leave it here for the night, guys. I think that's enough charts. Plenty to focus on for tomorrow. Again, I'm trying to switch it up a little bit here with getting a little bit more into those cyclicals and out of the growth names as I see yields go higher. So I don't want to abandon growth 100%, but I'm kind of shifting away from it a little bit for now. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.